All right, let's get into it, and folks can just arrive as they do. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Abortion Academy. My name is Amelia Bono. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director of Shout Your Abortion, which is a nationwide organization working to normalize abortion and elevate paths to access regardless of legality. We are an org that makes resources, campaigns, and media intended to arm existing activists, create new ones, and foster collective participation in abortion access all over the country. And Abortion Academy is a monthly webinar series where we talk to one, or in this case, three of our brilliant colleagues who take us into their work, take us on a deeper dive into their area of expertise. And these sessions are just for anybody who wants to deepen their knowledge and connect dots between the work that they're holding in their communities and what folks are doing elsewhere at the regional or national or even international levels, or to just get some fresh ideas to take back into your own work. We alternate U.S. focused sessions with what we call study abroad sessions, where we talk to international activists. Um, and audience members will be off camera and muted for security reasons, but you will be able to ask questions in the chat throughout the session. And we also have live Spanish translation available. If you go down to the bar at the bottom of your Zoom and you click on the little globe, you can select the language you'd like to listen in. And yeah, our presenters are going to speak to us for about 30-ish minutes, and then I'll come back and do some Q&A and bring in any questions that you have into the chat. And like I said, today we are going to speak to Ciné, Lana'e, and Laura from the Florida Access Network, aka FAN, which is such a great acronym. You just love to see it. Um, Florida, as you probably know, has extremely restrictive abortion laws, including a 6-week limit, parental consent law, and penalty fines for doctors who provide abortions over the legal limit. It's a very challenging environment to provide abortion support. And that does not stop the folks that we're going to be hearing from today. Um, and FAN is doing a whole lot of work. FAN is providing funding, practical support, peer support, mutual aid, and more to abortion seekers. FAN's work is built around principles of reproductive justice and sexual liberation, and they practice what they preach. I love. This trio is going to talk to us about the creative ways that they support abortion access, including the second edition of an analog newspaper coming out this spring, the challenges of living and working in a restricted state, and how we can work with each other across state lines and support one another's work. I think that, you know, Florida is a completely unique place on earth and in this country. It like it is so incredibly diverse by like every metric. Like you have you have the richest people. I don't know if Palm Beach County might be like the richest county in the country, if not one of the. You have a lot of poor folks. You have a lot of, you have a number of immigrant populations. You have, racial, like you have more racial diversity possibly than anywhere in the country as well, in whatever county that Miami is in. And it's one of those states that like from the swamp to Miami to the panhandle, like you can't believe that all of this is one state. And I'm really curious to hear about your work to attempt to wrap your arms around like such a wide range of folks needing care and in a place that has so much hostility, and doing so with so much joy and beauty. And as I said, the whole SYA team was totally gagged by your slideshow because it's so beautiful. So yeah, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to be here, and we have admired Shout Your Abortion's work for so long. So, being here, we're so excited to share about fans' work and what we've been working on. So, I'm going to share my screen, and then we can each just kind of like intro and get into it. Mm, Okay. Can folks see? Yes. Okay. Cool. So I can share. I'm Laura. I use she, her, ella pronouns. I'm the Communications and Development Associate at FAN. I'm based in Miami, Florida, and I am a Caribbean multidisciplinary cultural worker who likes to use my talents and creativity to uplift um, radical movements in Florida and particularly South Florida. I'll pass it to Ciné.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ciné Julian. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. I serve as the RJ Network Building Associate for Florida Access Network. I've been here since 2021, so this would make my fifth year being at FAN. I started as the reproductive justice organizer in Orlando, and then when I moved to South Florida, I expanded to doing mutual aid work and things on the ground, helping close gaps and helping other folks who have already been doing this work for so long continue the work that they're doing. So super excited to share some more, and I'll pass it to Lene.
Thank you, Ciné. Hi, everyone. My name is Lana'e Hernandez. I use she, her, and ella pronouns, and I am the Direct Services Case Manager here at Florida Access Network. I'm here to connect Floridians to abortion care, both for in-state and out-of-state clinics. I started working as a patient navigator to assist people accessing abortion care after the Dobbs decision. I'm also a certified abortion doula, assisting clients in every step of the way. And I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome. So I would love to tell y'all a little bit about who Florida Access Network is. We are formerly known as the Central Florida Women's Emergency Fund, founded in Orlando, but we are a statewide organization now. We've been here for 30 years, which is really crazy to say, but it's been a while and we continue to do this work in the state. We have recently closed down our work to do more focus on Floridian. So we used to expand our work to help folks who are outside of the state come into Florida to get the care. But since restrictions have gotten a lot more limited, we have switched to focusing on getting folks care who are already in the state and folks who need to go out of the state of Florida to get that care. In addition to our direct service arm that we have, we also do community engagement on the ground. We used to engage with doing an abortion funds lobby day during a legislative session. So we had an abortion funds take on tally day. In addition to that, we have our Hibiscus Club, which is our post-abortion peer support space, which will be expanding and restarting very soon. So very excited to share the new developments there. In addition to that, we also do mutual aid initiatives across the state, but mostly we do them in Central Florida and in South Florida. We have a volunteer program that's statewide, and we also have an Abortion Baddies Network, which is our new fellowship. Last year, we trained six baddies across the state to do on the ground work, and this year we're expanding to 20, which is really also crazy to say. So, super exciting stuff. And we also have an amazing storytelling program and narrative power arm to our community engagement and communications work. Great. So I'll pass it to Lene to continue on our amazing work.
Thank you. So, as we all know, abortion looks very different depending on what state you live in. So, here in Florida, you currently cannot access an abortion after 6 weeks. In addition to that, there is also a 24-hour waiting period, meaning that you will need to be seen at the clinic for a counseling education appointment where you sign a consent form, and then you will need to wait 24 hours before you can come back and receive either the pill or the procedure. Now, there are some amazing abortion funds here in Florida who will help you travel out of state to receive care if you are over those 6 weeks. We used to have a 15-week abortion here, but since then, we now have gone to the 6 weeks. However, there is a 15-week abortion exception here in Florida for rape, incest, and human trafficking with the proper documentation, such as a police report or restraining order, in order to receive that care in Florida. Telemedicine is banned here in Florida due to the in-person approval required by two medical professionals. In addition to some changes we've had here in Florida, we now no longer have judicial bypass in Florida, meaning that if you are under the age of 18, you will need to have parental consent in person at the time of your appointment. You used to be able to go to the courthouse and ask for a judicial bypass where the judge would be able to grant you access to make the decision on your own. But that was overturned last year in Florida. So, as I talked about earlier, I am a case manager here at FAN, and the purpose of direct services is to provide abortion funds to assist individuals seeking abortion by offering practical support and funding for abortion procedures. So, here at FAN on our website, we have a Get Help form, which offers direct to clinic payments to reduce or cover the appointment cost based on what the client needs. We also assist with travel, lodging, and food cost for your appointment. And obviously, that is subject to capacity and funding for all Floridians seeking in or out of state care. Now, we've had some very detrimental impacts in abortion care here in Florida. Like I talked about before, the Florida 6-week abortion ban has forced many people to have to travel out of state for care, which has dramatically increased cost and straining for abortion funds. The average cost for an out-of-state abortion care now ranges between $1,800 to $2,200, including the procedure, flight, bus, train, lodging, transportation, food, and medication costs. And that exceeds even more if clients are needing additional childcare for at home. Here at FAN, we are able to make the impact with all of these clients, such as in 2025, we have dispersed approximately $385,000 to support abortion access for Floridians. And although we are just in March, we have assisted over 250 people and are projected to reach around $80,000 by the end of March. That both reflects the cost of rising appointment cost and increase in demand.
Yes. So, in addition to the direct service that we do provide for abortion care, we also try to do our best in efforts on educating folks on the ground. And that's folks who are our volunteers, community support, or folks who just want to know how they can contribute to the movement, especially now when we're talking about material needs and the gaps that come up when, aside from the abortion funding and the gaps that are there. Mutual aid has really been an integral tactic that we've engaged in. And I find it to be really important when I am talking about mutual aid to emphasize that nonprofits did not create mutual aid. We are really learning from the community organizations and mutual aid groups on the ground who have been doing this work for years. And that's rooted in by POC liberation and frameworks that we are able to contribute to. So we see ourselves as being the tool to close the gap. A lot of the mutual aid groups and folks that contribute to the reproductive justice movement that we also engage ourselves with don't have the same access to the resources, the donation programs, or even to the nonprofit status that we obtain as an abortion fund. fund. So we really want to put ourselves in the middle and make sure that we close that gap. So we are community partners, thought partners. We collaborate with folks on the ground to help boost and ensure that they're able to execute whatever community goals that they have. And we support that through doing kit building, doing trainings, and also building up our volunteer base with that skill building so that they're able to bring that work to their areas. Because as we mentioned, Florida is extremely disproportionate. There's a handful of bilingual communities that might not have the shared language to really dive in and create change in these spaces. There's also a handful of people that don't have the resources, the privilege, or the ability to engage in this work. So we really want to try to work with the folks a part of our statewide issue to really try to create some solutions. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, so we engage in reproductive justice mutual aid. On top of the many things that I mentioned previously, in Florida, sexual health is in detriment here. Comprehensive and inclusive sexual health has been a huge problem for a while. I always tell folks I started my journey in organizing because of the gap of the sexual health in Florida. I've been born and raised in Broward County. Bounced between Orange here and there, but I'm a Broward County student, born, and I really only had sexual health curriculum be taught to me in seventh grade since moving back from Orlando, and that was the only time. So there's really an issue, and especially with legislation having an impact on education and things like that, we notice that there's gaps. So we take it upon ourselves to notice what those gaps are and try to create that change. So we engage when in repro kit packing, which other abortion funds also do, and practical support funds also do as well. And we also expand that. So we also do mutual aid and kit building for post-abortion care, period packs. We redistribute to all of the period pantries that we know and notify and get connected with us throughout the state. We also have done some personal hygiene kits. We partner with Food Not Bombs in South Florida, specifically the Fort Lauderdale chapter and the Miami chapter, to create some hygiene kits for them. We also have done some harm reduction, redistribution, and we've been in a bunch of intersectional community spaces to really ensure that folks know that reproductive justice is not only an intersectional issue, but it is about equity and it includes all of us. So we have to show up for all of the spaces where we need to support each other.
Yes, and I think I'll share a bit about fans' cultural work and the ways that we kind of try to make the movement look more beautiful because our values are so beautiful, and we want to destigmatize abortion, show it that it's not a scary thing, that it's actually a really abortion, it can be an avenue for incredibly beautiful community support and connection. Cultural work is the labor of artists, creatives, and visionaries who are accountable and committed to fostering a revolutionary culture, which is comes from Musa Springer. At FAN, it takes shape specifically through visual strategy, narrative building, and community engagement. And it seeks to propagate pro-abortion imagery and messaging across Florida to challenge stigma and shift the public imagination towards reproductive justice. I think we all know, like in Florida, across the entire panhandle, there are these crazy anti-abortion billboards that talk about going to hell if you're going to have a baby, or like make it very scary if you're going to have an abortion, or make it very scary, make abortion seem very scary, or like you're going to go to hell if you have an abortion. And that messaging has always been there and permeates the landscape of Florida because there are so many of those billboards around the state. So part of what we try to do is in our engagement with the community and the ways that we outreach ourselves as the ways that we present ourselves as an organization is to make it incredibly colorful, dynamic, and to reflect the culture of Florida in ways that align with the values of reproductive justice. So we do this in a variety of ways. First, in our communications and in the way that we talk about current events, we always center our unique perspective as an abortion fund and make it known the ways that our perspective as an abortion fund speaks to the intersectionality between different issues, and though that we have expertise that we can speak to that other organizations that are in reproductive justice or that do reproductive justice work can't speak to. We also are working to take ownership over our outreach and communications channels. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through our quarterly printed newspaper. I've got one right here. This is our second issue that will be coming out next week. And really, the newspaper is just one of the ways that we're trying to diversify our communications channels and reach people outside of virtual platforms, but also not just virtual platforms, but platforms that are not owned and operated by FAN. We want to try to diversify and have more self-ownership channels so that we don't have to worry about the algorithm suppressing us or hiding us or making it so that we can't say the word abortion in a post. When you have a printed newspaper and you have values-aligned partner organizations and businesses and brick and mortar places that can distribute it and believe in the work that we're doing, we can reach so many more people. And I think in terms of like fans community specifically, there is such a desire for like physical media and for things that feel very tangible. And I think that's also super important for us as a statewide organization. Our staff is scattered around, and we each have our realms of work, and the newspaper is kind of a way to have an org-wide communication that can reach people beyond just the Instagram, Facebook, email algorithms. We also, and I hope that there are some links to the newspaper, to the issue, to the first and the second issues of the newspapers that they'll drop in the chat so folks can see it virtually. And we'll be dropping a map of the locations that we'll be distributing the second issue next week on our Instagram. And we also love to partner with local artists and cultural workers whenever possible, because we know that there's so much creative talent in Florida that that can uplift our mission and that can create a different visual to the work that we're doing than maybe like someone internally can or someone that we've worked with before. So we love having different styles, perspectives shown with artists and cultural workers. And we also engage in storytelling and narrative shifting. We work to prompt our community members to consider and challenge their perspective on abortion, think about the vision that they have for abortion access in Florida and reproductive justice, and also consider their stake in it and how they can contribute to it. And we do this through our storytelling booth, which we have at our in-person events whenever we can. It has like a little booth where folks can come up and write responses to different prompts and just allow them to kind of take a moment to reflect on really like their idea and their place within the reproductive justice movement. And really all of the cultural work is seeking to visualize the values and the values and the principles that FAN seeks to embody in the work that we do as an abortion fund and as a community engagement organization. Sometimes when people hear abortion fund, they think that like they imagine something scary, and they imagine something that is actually the complete opposite of what we want, of what we are and what we want for Florida. And so when we present our work in colorful, playful, creative ways, I think it can also open us up to more people and get them thinking about abortion and reproductive justice in ways that they had never considered before. Because our values are super beautiful, and our movement should be beautiful in order to reflect those values too. And these are just some close-ups of some of the cultural work and creative work that has come out of FAN in the last year. the newspaper, of course. The design of Abortion Bans Are Scary, Liberation is Sexy was for a Repro After Dark Florida Funds collaborative event where we had a burlesque fundraiser. The abortion gator design and also the stigma-free clinic design was created by Lizzie Suarez, a local Florida artist. And I think they might be dropping the link in the chat to their website. And they created those designs for our billboard campaign we did last year, where we had 8 billboards across the state of Florida, just propagating pro-abortion messaging. So welcome to the Florida we're building, abortion access for everybody. And we had 8 billboards, which is not as much compared to all the anti-abortion billboards that are out there, but the anti-abortion billboards are so ugly that the 8 billboards that we had that were so beautifully designed by Lizzie had such impact, and people were so moved by it, and it caught everyone's eye because it was like something that people don't see every day. And it was also during the Amendment 4 campaign. So this was kind of a forward visionary design and messaging that wasn't focused on just the election or focused on bans or anything like that. It's actually focused on a long-term vision that we know we will be working towards regardless of whatever like the legislators or whoever are working on or whoever are whatever harm they're imparting on us. We have a vision that we're staying steadfast in. And we also love to make it super Florida centered and make it part of like the local culture. So we obviously have the gators and the palm trees and the local flora and fauna. And for example, for the lovers card that's there at the upper right hand corner, that was for our giving season campaign last year. That was tarot themed. It was the Abortion Access Arcana, and folks were able to donate and they received a tarot card in the mail. And we did this one based on Miffy and Miso, the abortion pills. And we know that our supporters are hip and cool and they love tarot. So we're also trying to relate to their interests and tie it back to abortion with abortion imagery with the abortion pills and yeah, just try to make it more fun and like show that like the work that we do is actually like incredibly valuable and compassionate and innovative and creative. And then also the design at the bottom left corner is by another local artist, Luca Molnar, and it's a Florida seal that was reimagined to really reflect the values of Floridians and what we want for Florida. Because even though Amendment 4 didn't pass, over 57% of Floridians voted in favor of it. And we know that a majority of Floridians are in support of abortion access and don't support the near total abortion ban. And then on the other corner is also the story booth, someone writing in the story booth that we have at all of our events. So this is just like a little snippet of some of the different creative works and out like communication that we've put out in order to uplift our work as an abortion fund. And it's always focused on Florida, on abortion, and on like uplifting our perspective as a fund in Florida operating in the South. And the last thing that we will say is we're plugging our current Fundathon campaign. Every year, abortion funds come together to fundraise over April from March to May and fundraise in support of abortion access and to support their work in abortion funding. So this year, FAN has a whole new campaign going where we are partnering with marathoners and coffee shops to fundraise $50,000. And folks can support by donating directly at the link shown there. And I think they're also going to be dropping in the chat, fund.nnaf.org/fuelyourfund. You can crowdfund for FAN, and there's a sign up form to learn more about crowdfunding for us. And you can also follow us on Instagram and keep an eye on our fundraiser from there. Every dollar that we raise will go directly towards our abortion funding work. It goes directly back towards our clients. And as Lana'e shared, it's super expensive to help people go out of state. Over 30% of our clients travel out of state. And so at $50,000 could help us fund many more abortions in 2026. And so if you can help us reach our $50,000 goal by the 31st, we would be super grateful. And this is just another one of the ways that we're trying to get creative and get fun with it and try to appeal to people's interests and show that like actually it's not hard or a burden or something out of your way to support your local abortion fund or support reproductive justice. Like there are abortion funds are so cool and creative and fun that we can make it as easy and engaging for you to support us in our work. And yeah, I think that this fundraiser has been like a really fun way to kind of get a new group of people engaged in fans work also. So thank you so much. There's our website and our Instagram too. I think they'll be dropping that in the chat. And we're so excited for questions. And yeah.
Yay! Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. It's like really just, I want anyone who is like, oh, this work is, that's got to be like so dark or whatever, and not to minimize the hardness and intensity that the work holds, but like the joy, the beauty, the pride, the like dignity, um the way that you just like expressed all of that is like really just like putting those theories into practice in such a clear way. And I feel like I just imagine people encountering people who have grown up in a conservative environment, having an unwanted pregnancy and encountering fan, like when they've been raised to believe that like if this happens, you're in trouble, you know? I just can't imagine how life-changing it would be to encounter just like a joyful group of baddies who are like, not only are you not in trouble, but like we're so happy to see you today and help you today and like let's do this. And I can imagine that you just have that reflected to you in your experiences with folks you engage with. And I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about like what that's like, and also just like the way that culture, I guess, like your communities respond to seeing like joyful pro-abortion work, maybe for the first time.
I would actually love for Lana'e to share kind of like her experience in like DS because I
Mhm.
think FAN has like a very particular like funding philosophy that Lana'e could speak to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lauda. And thank you, Amelia, for bringing up that question. One thing I can say that we really pride ourselves with here at FAN is that we are non-income restricted. So we are not asking
Mhm.
clients, how much money do you make? How many people live in your home? How much can you put towards your abortion? And basically tell me why you can't afford an abortion,
Yeah.
right? We are
Yeah.
here to fund abortions. We believe that abortion is a fundamental right, and we are here to make that happen for you. So, with that being said, when we are on the phone with clients and they share with us their story, if they want to share their story, which is another big one, is we are here to listen. And with all of our staff being certified doulas as well, we can be there with them and talk to them and walk them through the process so that they know exactly what to expect every step of the way. And one thing that's also unique here is I have a personal work phone that clients can text or call me on. So if they are navigating an airport for the very first time and have never been there before, we are able to walk them through every step of the way. Same thing if they are in the lobby of their clinic and they don't have anyone there with them and they just need somebody to listen to them, we are there. And I believe that we just have a lot of different areas of expertise that we can bring into it. We are a very compassionate group of people. And because we are not having to ask you certain questions about your income and about your background or your status, we really are able to help people and meet them where they are at.
Yes. And then I can tie into the culture part of it because I feel like in working with Lana'e and the DS team, I think in like developing fans, like visual strategy, the color and the creativity and like the culture piece of it or like the local Florida piece of it, like I think reflects that compassion a bit more and makes people a bit more open to receiving our services or engaging with us.
Hmm.
And it it does reflect what we want for Florida, regardless of
Yeah, yeah,
even how people react to it. Like it's true to who fan is. And I think that's the other thing, is that we wear everything on our sleeves. We're incredibly bold, and like that
hmm,
can either like put people off to us or really attract people to us. And I think we found that it's also a good strategy for finding the right people who can contribute to what
yeah,
we want for the mission, because we're not just an abortion fund. We are a sex positive organization that does organizing and community engagement and wants to develop people to be leaders in their community, not just receive services. And like those are two separate things. Like you can be a client and not have to develop yourself. You can just receive services, and we love
sure.
you and we're so happy for that. And then also we are a place for you to learn and develop yourself as a reproductive justice advocate. And so I want people, when they see fans things, to understand that this is like an open space where you can learn, that is pro-abortion, and that reflects our values. And I had another thought that I lost, but I'll stop there for now.
Um, Ciné, did you have something to add?
Oh no, I was gonna just plus one everything that was already said
Hmm.
because I think y'all really tied it together.
I think that a thought that I forget who I first heard say this, and maybe it's just kind of like an ingrained theory of organizing, but like this idea that like the difference between um like charity and mutual aid can be like that you are you're offering people a way into the work. Like you're not assuming that people are just like, here, let me give you this thing. It's like we are a part of, do you want to be a part of what we're doing? And like no pressure. Like obviously, like you just said, Laura, if somebody like just needs support, then that's that. But like that, the same organization that is providing support is also being a force, a culture, like in and of itself, that's just like, this is what we're about and you can come be a part of it and be about it too. I think that that really is a difference very much with like even just between like nonprofit world, and the way that like mutual aid and to some degree like organic culture change actually works. And I guess like I don't know if I missed this up top, if y'all talked about what your org structure is. Like I know that you have paid staff, right? So can you talk a little bit about, I guess, I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about like your paid staff and like your volunteer structure. And also like if you can speak to at all, like how, if you've had any difficulties like holding your values in the world of like nonprofit philanthropy, like, Lana'e's wearing a Fund Abortion Not War shirt, and some people don't like when you talk about the US funding a genocide, and then they don't want to write you a check. And I want to know, I guess, how y'all have navigated that and just like what your structure is.
Yeah, I can start and speak to the staff and volunteer portion. I could pass it off. But I will say we are a very small but mighty team. Folks are actually really shocked to find out that we are a team of 9 folks. So we have three kind of like arms to our organization: the direct service, the abortion funding, the community engagement, which is more of like the organizing, public facing front, the education, and then we have our operations, which is our leadership team, folks who help us keep it afloat. So that is really what encompasses the structure of our organization. We are all paid, which is a privilege because not every abortion fund it has the capacity or gets the access to pay their staff. So we are extremely privileged, especially being a statewide abortion fund. And to our volunteer structure, we have a statewide volunteer program. A majority majority of the in-person engagement that our volunteers do are basically through like our tablings, and our mutual aid events that we do in Central Florida and in South Florida. But that's why we have really tried to develop specific programs to extend on building skills. So that's why we created the Abortion Baddies Network. And some of my abortion baddies are in the space. So hey to my abortion baddies. And also we have a digital defenders space that will be expanding and revamping very soon. So we have created programs specifically for folks who really want to do a bit more than just dedicate a couple of hours throughout the week or throughout the month, that really want to bring that work back to their own local areas, and lead that work themselves. So that's pretty much what our volunteer program is. We don't have a program specifically for like practical support volunteers that help like driving folks to and from their appointments, but we do have some community groups that have reached out and asked for some like clinic defense trainings. So we have a developed program that we've partnered with ARC Southeast to create. We've trained it a couple of times with some community groups and we want to continue. So if there are any folks who want to learn how to do some clinic defense, definitely let us know. But I'll pass it off to whoever wants to answer the second half of the question because I think some folks might have some answers for that.
Um, I think I can share like I think um to the values piece of like nonprofits and like funding and all these things, that's always like a battle, of course. Like that's something that every nonprofit is like moving through, especially as like nonprofits continue to grow. But I think that one thing that FAN has continued to ground in is like specific hard lines that we won't concede on. So we say abortion in damn near every communication post or anything that we put out, abortion is in it. And like I remembered what I was gonna say before was like with the billboard campaign, using the local Florida imagery, like the gator design and having it look like a postcard and stuff, it says abortion right there, huge in big letters. And we really only got like one or two comments that were like, why are you guys saying abortion? Like, why say choice? And like the campaign had like this was an incredibly expansive, wide reach campaign that had millions of visualizations. And really I can count through a handful of times that someone told us, why are you saying abortion? And so I think that also speaks to the power of the visuals and the power of like something being pretty, that they don't care that it says abortion even though that would bother them with something else. So I would say one thing is like, yeah, we don't we don't not say abortion, we don't say choice, you know, and we have those lines. And when we apply to grants or when we look for funding, when we ask donors to donate, we say this is who we are. We are a pro-abortion fund. We are unapologetic. We're bold. We're sex positive. This is what your money is going to go towards. It's going to go exactly towards funding people, transporting them to their appointment, getting them food, their medication, having them, getting them a place to stay. And we're not going to feel guilty that we're doing that. And we're not going to apologize that we're doing that. And so I think man, this is like above my pay grade, but in terms of like the leadership decisions of it, we like leadership decides like, is this funding going to take us as we are? And if they're not, then they have, and I hope that they will continue to say no to that funding in terms of like in terms of making sure that like we can be unapologetically pro-abortion and that we can be bold and we can speak about the intersectional nature of reproductive justice. Like we are coming out with a post on ICE at airports because that impacts our clients who are traveling. And like, you know, we're not going to not talk about ICE because that's not our realm of work. And so I think luckily so far we are bold, and it kind of serves as a filter where people who like don't vibe with that or think that we're too much can go find another organization, and the people who vibe with us like really ride hard for us. So I think it like actually creates like a very strong community because there's so much clarity.
Absolutely. I was gonna there's a great question in the chat, but I was going to ask about ICE, and about how under this new administration, like if you could just talk a little bit about how that has been. I don't know if it's always become part of your work to, talk about immigration. I assume that like that piece has always been present in your work with clients, but I guess I'm wondering if you can talk about, especially because I'm sure we have a lot of folks in the chat who are like interfacing directly with abortion seekers and you don't know someone's status. And I guess I'm wondering, especially in the wake of this airport shit, which is so fucking horrifying, if you can talk about like how, I guess, like any practical tips that you can offer about like just the intersection of immigration status and abortion seekers.
I can answer this one if you all are okay with that. Um, I will say at FAN, what I do love about us is we are not asking your immigration status. We are
Yeah,
not
of
asking
course.
those sort of questions. Now, we do know the political landscape that we do live in and work under right now in Florida. So, currently, if we do have any client traveling via flight, we are letting them know there are heavy ICE presence at the airport at this moment. If you would feel more
Yeah.
comfortable, we are more than welcome and happy to get you another form of transportation via bus,
Hmm.
train ticket, gas assistance to get to whichever clinic you feel most comfortable. We also vet all of our clinics that we work with. So knowing that the
Hmm.
clinics that we are sending our clients to are values aligned, knowing that they're not
Hmm.
going to allow ICE agents behind those doors is also something
Hmm.
that we can say that we hold them accountable for and that we want to make sure that it's safe. Same with, booking a hotel for a client. We can always use an alias name if we need to.
Hmm.
They do not need to have your identification at that hotel. So we have structures in place to protect people's identity when they are traveling. And
Hmm.
we open that conversation up to people. We don't necessarily leave it up to them to share those concerns with us.
Right.
We give it to them firsthand, and they can take the information if they are seeking it. And that way,
Hmm.
nobody's put on the spot, and we're here to help during the way. I hope that answers that question.
Oh no, that's like so helpful, like such just good practical tips. And again, all of which are um within this framework of meeting somebody where they are and offering unconditional support and help that is not contingent on them sharing like really anything with you. Um, but is also like, if you want to talk about this, let's talk about it. Are y'all mostly sending people to North Carolina?
Typically we go a little bit further only because North Carolina has that 72-hour waiting period.
Right,
So
right.
unless they are seen in a clinic here in Florida and able to sign that first
Yeah,
consent form,
right.
typically the closest would be Virginia or Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh. Right. The question in the chat that I was also going to ask is what kind of work slash support slash solidarity is most helpful from folks in less restricted states? I'm a sex educator and aspiring sex therapist in the Pacific Northwest and want to work to support folks in restricted states. And I would also add to that, in addition to like, how can we show solidarity with you? Like, what do you wish that folks in less restricted states knew about your work?
Um, I will just share the most obvious thing, which is like out of state dollars are incredibly
Yeah.
valuable, incredibly valuable. I think Florida is, we're like, there's 5 abortion funds in Florida, and we each have kind of
Hmm.
like our region, FAN is statewide. But we have our people in specific regions and stuff, and like we are all trying to hit up the same donors, the people with the same values.
Yeah.
So people out of state who can support Southern and abortion funds in Florida is incredibly, incredibly valuable so that we're not just relying on people regionally.
Yeah.
And I would also say, in terms of, and also just like following us, uplifting our work, showing that like we're doing showing what we're doing down here in Florida. FAN
Hmm.
does a lot of virtual events that people anywhere across the country can attend. So you can follow us and attend
Amazing.
events and plug it to people in your area and show like there's this cool ass abortion fund in Florida that is doing work that I didn't even
Yeah.
know they were doing in Florida. And I think that's the other thing I'll say before I pass it on, that like what I want people to know about FAN in Florida is that like we are doing radical work that people imagine is happening in California or New York or whatever. Like that is happening here in Florida. And that's not just FAN, it's across the other abortion funds, it's across movements and it's across issues like the labor organizing here
Yeah.
and the immigration organizing here and the pro-Palestine organizing here, like all of those things, like that's happening here too. And I think people are very quick to write off Florida. People, there's a mass exodus of Florida and people are struggling. So like we don't need narratives combating like the work that we're doing here, because like we're already working against incredibly hostile conditions. So people out of state who support our work, please like defend us, defend Florida out there because there's a lot worthwhile in this state.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, y'all are proof of that. And it's not just y'all, it's like, I didn't know that there was six funds in the state. That's pretty amazing. I don't know if you said five or six, but that's incredible. And like, I mean, my experience like getting to travel and do this work for a decade now is like that the people that are holding this work in more hostile places are like the absolute baddest ones. And people in California need to like take several seats before they have anything to say about that. Um, and like like by definition, like you're navigating stuff that other people just simply can't imagine. You know what I mean? And you're just like showing up as yourselves like this out there and like not giving a fuck. It's I mean, it's like really a blueprint for that. Like California should be asking, how can we go harder? Like, please give us a lesson. Um, there's another good question in the chat. Also, I don't know if y'all have, when you said that you have like that you have events that people can attend, is the best way to find those like follow you on social, or do you have like a mailing list also?
Yes. So we have social media and then also a mailing list that I'm not sure if I
Okay.
actually included in the list of links for y'all, but I can find it super quick and drop it.
Okay. If not, we can put a link in the recap. There's a couple other good questions. One is if there is a specific program that y'all would recommend for abortion doula training. I know that there's a lot at this point, which is great.
Yeah, I would look to start if anyone has like any other recommendations. I know that at FAN it's required on onboarding that we all get abortion doula certified. We were all certified through the Colorado Doula Project.
Mm-hmm.
And they have recurring doula cohorts. I know that locally in South Florida, there's the Southern Birth Justice Network. They have an in-person doula cohort. They've graduated, I believe, five cohorts so far, and they actually have a program with the Jackson Memorial Hospital. So they have a specific set of doulas that do on the ground training at that specific hospital. I've also attended and seen a handful of other doula trainings. The advocacy doula training is a really good. I recently took the Repro TLC program last year. And that was really nice. There's also birth workers of color that have virtual cohorts. There's like a bunch. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely do your research, find what I think fits well for you. There's specific
Yeah.
trainings, different types of doula trainings, abortion doula trainings, full spectrum doula trainings, miscarriage doulas, postpartum doulas.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wide spectrum. So whatever you feel like you want to dive into first, you can definitely take baby steps, or you can do a virtual like info session first to see how you like the curriculums and then dive into it.
Perfect. There's so much good tangible information being shared in this session. I love it. This is a question in the chat about social media, which I forget which one of you said, but I think Laura, you were talking about like people being into like physical media right now, which is very much our experience as well. And this question is, in what ways are you still using social media, parentheses, meta platforms? How do you deal with digital repression, censorship, shadow banning, et cetera, when disseminating information?
Oh, yeah. This is the struggle of my job. It's the bane of existence
Yeah.
of my job. Like, and I think that's one of the reasons why the newspaper came to fruition because it just felt like we weren't reaching people. We weren't reaching people on meta
Hmm.
platforms. So, first, we are on Facebook and Instagram. And I think we are active on there. We make sure that those are active and updated and that people can still reach us through there because people do find us still through there. And even with all the struggles of the shadow ban and this, that, and the other, it's still effective in reaching people. But I've definitely found I've definitely found our emails to be more effective in like reaching people directly. Like I think in terms of social for me, I've kind of oriented towards meta and social media as ways for people to find us and get like a big picture idea of us and then like find ways to connect with us in deeper ways, which would then be like the email and our events um and our fundraisers and the newspaper and like kind of finding us in more like a scavenger hunt kind of way. And like the social media is just like what's out there for anyone to
Hmm.
find. Um and I would say like in terms of like the shadow ban, the algorithm, like I felt for so long that like the the algorithm was biased against us. And it is. It absolutely
Hmm.
is. Because
Yeah.
we say abortion, we say all these things, and we are so unapologetically pro-abortion. But as time has gone on with Instagram and all these things, I'm just seeing engagement down for everyone, regardless of whether
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are
Oh,
and
totally.
whether you are an abortion focused repo, like anyone, creators, everyone is their
Hmm.
engagement is down. So to me, it's also like not just in terms of like us specifically as an abortion fund, it's like those platforms are dying and we don't want to
Hmm.
be
Yeah.
caught stuck there when they're dead. You
Yeah.
know, we can have them, we
Yes.
can keep them going, but we need to have other avenues. And so with the
Hmm.
newspapers, one avenue of self ownership, we produce them, we get them printed ourselves, we distribute them with partners and stuff. We don't really have any middlemen with that.
Hmm.
And we have our blog where we update people on our website. We're going to get a Substack started very soon, and
Hmm.
just continuing to like diversify and own our communication channels. Like our newsletter
Yeah.
is like a really great way to keep up with us like outside of Instagram. And if
Yeah.
you're worried that our posts aren't coming up at the top of your feed and stuff, and so like really the way we're orienting social media is like making sure that it's there and it's active, but like
Yeah.
kind of
It's
turning
not
our
like where
heads
you're
towards
building.
exactly like in
Yeah.
terms of optimizing outreach, like that's not really where we're trying to do that.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's definitely like the experience of pretty much everyone that I talk to, not even, like you said, not even in the movement, but it does just
Mm-hmm.
feel like that part of the internet is like kind of dying. And, I think that there's tons of people that are just like haven't deleted their account, but don't go there because it's so fucked up and like depressing and it's all ads and like telling you to get on GLP-1s and like buy
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
so
And
that,
it's like
it's just awful.
and I would say that would be the other part of it, of the self ownership piece, beyond just reaching people, is like the values of it. We are like the
Yeah,
values of our
yeah.
organization are fundamentally in contradiction to these platforms, and we are kind
Yes.
of held hostage to these
Yeah,
platforms. Like, if Fan doesn't have an Instagram, we lose credibility. You know, we lose
hmm.
legitimacy. People are
Right.
gonna be like, why don't you have an Instagram? What is this organization? You know? And so we
Yeah,
have it,
totally.
so that's kind of like, and the newspaper is also a way to kind of break through the monotony and oversaturation of information. You know, people are out in the
Yeah.
world, they're seeing it, that catches their eye and stuff, and they can kind of go from there.
Is there a way for folks to like buy or request a copy of the newspaper?
So right now, they will be in specific locations in the state of Florida, and we have the digital version that I think they shared the link to. And this
Okay.
time around,
Yeah,
we don't have a specific request for people to
that's
receive a physical
understandable.
copy, but it's in our sites. You know, I think we're trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah,
like this is our
totally.
second issue, so we're trying to have see how it goes with this. And we do want to have
Yeah.
like either like a subscription, mail by subscription kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, so people can receive it out of state.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Um, this has been so wonderful. I don't think there's any more questions in the chat, and I feel like most of the notes that I wrote down, I've gotten to, except for I just wanted to say that I love alligators like deeply and unironically. Like I feel very connected to them. I think they're hilarious and like so charming, and I it's really cool that you get to be around them. And I love how much they're a part of your brand.
People have really identified with the abortion gator. People
Yes.
want the abortion gator on all of our merch and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've become a character. I won't misgender the gator, but the abortion gator.
Yeah. The NB abortion gator. No, your shit's all gorgeous. And you said it, Laura, but it like bears repeating that one of the many reasons that we know we're gonna win is because we make shit that's beautiful. And they are literally not capable of that because their brains are not wired to make things look good or be cool, or it's like the ops don't know any graphic designers. And I've like literally never seen something made by the ops that I'm like, it's pretty good. Like I'm just always like, that's trash. Like you've never known your way around a typeface. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's like a very important part of building a movement is like making it look and feel and be something that people want to be a part of that feels good. And I think that that's been one of my favorite things to hear from y'all today is like how much you're embodying that like on every level and just like in your spirits, in your vibes, in the way that you showed up today. We love you and we like are so grateful to be in movement with you. And if there's anything, we can do, we're down. And I guess my last question is just like, is there anything that you didn't get a chance to say that you'd like to say to folks who are still here, or final requests aside from to get you that 50 grand? When is that again? When is that fundraiser starting?
It's
May?
already active, but we want to raise 50K by May 31st. So folks have,
You're gonna do it.
donate today, but there's also
Donate
time to
today.
support.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to?
Lana'e and Ciné, do you want to share? Okay, the last thing that I will say is just to Shout Your Abortion's beautiful spread in our newspaper.
Yay! It's so good.
Yes. And it's
Shout out
got
Erin.
cutouts of
Amazing.
all options, postcards.
Yes.
So yeah, make
God, it's
sure
so
check out the
good.
digital copy. And if you're in Florida, get a physical copy next week.
Oh my God. I'm so excited. I want to know, I'm gonna email follow up, ask where somebody can get one in St. Pete. I have somebody I need to send to get a copy. Yeah.
We got you.
Okay. All right, y'all. Well, we love and appreciate you and are so just grateful to be connected.
Thank you. We love y'all
Yeah.
too, and just so excited for more Shout Your Abortion fan collabs in the future.
Yes. 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 Indefinitely.
Yes.
All right. We love you. We believe in you. We got this. Everybody stay up and take a deep breath, and we're in this together. It's really fucking hard, but we have each other and we're going to win.
Yes. And
Thank you
that's the
so much.
T.
Bye. Thank
Thank you
you.
guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.